St. Louis and I are here today in support of our democratic institutions and the rule of law. Nearly 4 years ago, I was barricaded in my office with my staff, wondering if we would be killed or at least harmed by a mob incited by Donald Trump to storm the U.S. Capitol because he could not accept the fact that he lost the 2020 presidential election. In that moment, I thought to myself, like, this has to be it. This has to be the moment in our country that people finally realize that the extremist MAGA movement is a violent cult that will destroy anything in its path, all for Donald Trump. And yet, nearly 4 years later, here we are again. Far from rejecting Donald Trump and his insurrection, the Republican Party has embraced its role as the party of insurrection. Republicans have defended January 6th, attacked the Department of Justice for seeking accountability, continued their assault on voting rights, and built a pro-insurrection wing of the Supreme Court. They have also overwhelmingly backed Trump, who has been convicted of 34 felony criminal charges, despite his attacking the prosecutor, the judge, the jurors in the case, and even though he still refuses to say he will support the outcome of the 2024 election. So as we sit here today, our democracy is in as precarious a position as it was in 2020, if not more. Attorney General Garland, I want to thank you, but I want to talk to you about the ongoing assault on our democracy and the rule of law. How does interference by politicians in criminal trials harm our democracy and the separation of powers?
Our criminal justice system proceeds on the understanding that the decisions will be made in the courtroom without political interference in any way. And fundamentally, it depends on the respect of the citizenry of the judicial processes that occur. People can disagree with results, people can challenge results, people can appeal results, but we respect the judicial process, the judges, and the juries, and the appellate justices. That's a fundamental element of our democracy.
And how do conspiracy theories and misinformation affect the ability of courts to conduct impartial trials?
Well, that's a broader question than I can answer in specifics. I think attacks on, personal attacks on judges, personal attacks on juries, personal attacks on prosecutors and agents make people afraid to do their job according to the merits and according to the law.
Thank you. I will say an obvious answer is that Republicans are not doing any of this because they care about our communities, they care about our country, or our democracy. They are doing this because they realize their agenda is absolutely unpopular and they will do anything to stay in power. The Republican Party is all about projection. Republicans talk about violent crime while inciting violent crime on January 6th. Republicans talk about the weaponization of the federal government as they themselves weaponize it on behalf of Donald Trump, including the baseless impeachment investigation and these sham committee hearings. Republicans talk about the unfairness of the criminal legal system while ignoring the actual communities, mostly Black and brown, who are disproportionately targeted by that system and don't have high-powered attorneys, unlike Donald Trump, who has used his wealth, his resources, his power to shield himself from accountability his entire life. Republicans talk about big government and liberty and don't tread on me as they use government to rip away the freedoms of women, of LGBTQ+ folks, and countless others. Republicans talk about cancel culture as they champion violent crackdowns on students who dare to speak out about the humanity of Palestinians. Republicans talk about unethical judicial overreach despite the comical corruption of their extremist justices. So while Republicans focus on hypocrisy and distraction, my Democratic colleagues and I will continue asking the real questions, advancing real solutions, and advocating for our communities. So thank you again for being here, Attorney General Garland, and I yield back.